Ladies and gentlemen, welcome. I so appreciate you guys being here this evening. Based on registrations and the amount in the room, we might have some people filtering in late. I don't know what area of town you came from, but where I came from, traffic was terrible, lanes were cut in half. So if that happens, just make space for them and welcome. So first and foremost, if you do not know me, my name is Casey Sullivan. I own a company called Curating Confidence. I'm a neuro-emotional image consultant. So that's a whole lot of words that mean I help people rewrite their beauty beliefs so they can unlock their confidence. I work a lot with body image trauma, ranging from mindset, tools and resources to move through that, and then wardrobe on the back end. So how did I get here today? Great question. I'm still asking that. But I am actually a pillar lead for ATLVets. I have been honored to get to work in this space alongside, serve in this space, and learn in this space for a couple years now. I am a veteran supporter. I am not a veteran, and we'll be hearing from my lovely counterpart this evening shortly. She's a mil spouse and knows all about the things. But my role as a pillar lead, I help with mindset piece. So how that works from my work, veterans coming out of the military, as I'm sure many of you know, but really anybody I think can relate to this, because who in this room has been through a life transition? A job, a career, a move, anything. A lot of them, probably some of you, right? So I work a lot with people in transitions, and there is nobody that probably understands that better than the military and people that have served and their families that have served alongside of them. So that's how I get to be honored by getting to facilitate and be in this community, and I really appreciate you guys being here this evening. A couple things, if you have not been at the Buckhead Club before, welcome. This is the space. There's a lot of other spaces depending on our events, what we need to use. But make sure if you are interested in figuring out if this is the right fit for you as a club for work, that you talk to somebody. They sometimes have somebody present, but I don't see them this evening. So I'll get you connected if you need it. Also, fun fact, if I don't say it now, I'll forget at the end, they do validate parking. So there is a ticket at the front desk to grab before you leave. If you forget that ticket, you will be donating a nice sum to whoever owns the parking garage. Cool. So get your ticket. Other things, again, I said make sure to fill up your plates, grab a cocktail, take care of your servers. They are lovely. I, at this moment, would love to have the soon-to-be Mrs. ATLVets up here to kind of talk about, we do lots and lots of events. There are lots of ways to get plugged in. A lot of them are free. And I would love for her to kind of elaborate on a couple really cool ones we had recently.
Hi guys, I'm Taylor, for those of you guys who don't know me. Like Casey said, she's amazing, as you can see. We do a ton of events to help veterans and veteran supporters, our allies, transition. So there's a transition for everybody as she's honing in on that, whether you're a mil spouse or you're coming out of the military, retiring. So we really focus on that workforce development piece. The events that we all do, but Zach is head of, he does an amazing job. Two recently that I want to highlight is the Jack Carr event. Does anybody in here know who Jack Carr is? Marie, you were there. Absolutely fantastic event. We had over 450 people at the Atlanta History Center. I want to say 2 Sundays ago. My days are running together. For those of you who don't know, he had 2 dreams. One was to be to serve our country, fight for our freedom, and the second was to be an author, and he's accomplished both of those very well. He was Navy SEAL and then became an author. He has multiple series of books. Did a best series of The Terminal List, and just released his first nonfiction series, The Battle at Beirut, which was where lots of horrible, tragic things happened. I won't go into too much detail, but 241 Marines were killed. So he actually went to the families, which is something super hard to do, and they gave those stories. So everything that you see in the battle at Beirut, am I saying that right? Is real, and it's sad, but it is real, it is raw, and the power that Jack Carr and James Scott, his writer, have poured into those books is absolutely fantastic. So I encourage you guys, if you haven't purchased that, do it. It will change your perspective on a lot of things, because it is his first nonfiction series, and he is just those two are such humble humans. It's hard to meet those with such big things happening. The second one, this was actually kind of a surprise at the last minute. Last Tuesday we held, I'm gonna have to kind of refer to this because I don't know what the event was actually called, Ukrainian warfighter band that highlighted cultural forces. It was a special performance. The music that we heard was absolutely fantastic. These are actually warriors on our front line. I cried my eyes out, of course, but it was to bring awareness. The Honor Foundation and then the Howard Buffett Foundation funded that event. So huge event, great success. But those warriors actually came in from all walks of life, and what's going on in their families, those who are still left, was absolutely tragic. But they were so humble and so happy to be here in America and be able to play and be in our presence. So I just loved being a part of that. It was a really humbling thing. So check out the event. You're going to see it later on the next slide as Casey and Kim get through this amazing event. But definitely check out the events. We want to see you guys more at them. And if you know anybody, there's a lot of empowering things that are going on in this world. So thank you.
Appreciate it.
So I did not mention that Taylor is a formidable businesswoman herself. She is also a pillar lead. She runs the movement side of ATLVets, so I get to work alongside her a lot, and it's so much fun. It's such a blessing. So I'm excited you're always a part of this stuff as well. So thank you for sharing, because I didn't get to go to those events for a very worthy cause, and I'm going to do a quick shameless plug because I'll bring it back up later. But I had the opportunity to go on a mindset retreat with one of our board members that hosts it, Tommy Breedlove. And I just put a pin in that because I'm gonna bring it up later. But I was able to do that last week and didn't get to go to those two awesome events. So I thought it would be better coming from her, and I appreciate that. Zach actually is normally the host if you're not familiar with our events. That being said, I'm on my notes tonight because I have what I refer to as sparkle syndrome. My teachers called it ADHD, but this keeps me on track for you. I promise it's for you. So thank you for affording me that. And without further ado, I would love to introduce Kim Bryant. She is our newest board member at ATLVets, and we are super excited to have her on board. She comes with a wealth of experience and knowledge. She is actually a caregiver of a military combat. Sorry, I'm totally wife and caregiver. The disabled combat veteran. There we go, words. This is why I use notes. And on top of that, she's the director of business development for Comcast. So she's in charge of a whole lot of important-ish developing out the Southeast. And we'll kind of talk more on that shortly. So she is truly an advocate for the military space, for milspouses, for veterans in general. And she really operates under the belief that everything we go through, we can grow through. And she's here to lead by example. So welcome, Kim Bryant. Somehow I turned that off as I was sitting. All right, so on that note, is there anything in your introduction that you felt like I did not do you service that you would like to add in right now?
No, I think you did a great job. There's nothing that I would add that I can think of.
Actually, I just thought of something.
Oh.
So she is the award-winning recipient of the Warrior Alliance MilSpouse of the Year. I do not want to shortchange her that, so let me add that in really quick.
Thank you.
You don't want to humble brag, I'm gonna yell it.
No, I'm not. Yeah, I am one that gives recognition. I don't receive well, so this is super awkward.
It's wonderful. If you guys are not familiar with ATLVets, it stands for Advancing the Line for Veterans. And really our mission boiled down to a tiny phrase is we want to be the battle buddies for people coming and transitioning out of the military into their next role. Whatever is for them after their uniform, we want to make sure that they have the support they need to find their next purpose. And that helps with a lot of things. You know, we're really focusing on trying to advocate for keeping veteran suicide down and just allowing you guys, veterans, all of that to kind of step into your next space and purpose and to do it with a lot of professional skills and owning all those great talents that you developed in the military. So that being said, as we have been building out this programming for ATLVets, Zach has really created something called VetOps, Veterans Optimizing Professional Success. And it is a program to help veterans, also non-veterans, but obviously we're targeting that space, with the skills they need to do that. How do they take those skills they learned and put them successfully into a corporate workspace? Setting them up for success, whether that be how to create good communication styles, networking, all of those tools that you maybe didn't learn in the military and you need just a little help fine-tuning those soft skills. So as we have been developing this program, what we noticed, we were having a lot of conversations around, a lot of this programming is great for everybody, but there's also seems to be a piece missing that really only directly affects women. Women that are in the military, women that are transitioning out of the military, mil spouses that have served on the other side of keeping their families going. So how do we now create programming that also takes what we already have and add in those pieces? And that's kind of what the conversation is about tonight. So I would really love for you to kind of share, as a military spouse, what you've learned and how to leverage your unique experiences to really stand out in the corporate space, because clearly you have done that and done it very well.
Yeah, thank you. That's a great question. So I would say military spouses need to understand and vocalize their value. I've seen so many times military spouses downplaying their experiences and skill sets. And really, military spouses excel at adaptability, resiliency, time management, project management, organizational skills, but they don't see it that way. So it really comes down to how you're going to tell your story.
I think you said that really beautifully, and I love that you kind of talked about the core root of the skill set, because I see it a lot with my clientele. I've lived it a lot very personally. I was the kid that got out of high school and had no idea what I wanted to do, so I studied everything for a little bit. I took a lot of different random jobs, and for a while I really let that help hold me back, and I've seen other people in the space do the same thing, because they get so tunnel visioned on that one thing and they don't know how to translate it and boil it down to what is that root of the skill, to then start elevating and talking about it and promoting it into the new space that they're transitioning to. So I really think that you said that quite beautifully. What advice, I'm going to rephrase that, what wisdom? I think wisdom gleans from your experience. Advice is people telling you what you should do, and we don't always like to hear what we should do. So what wisdom could you share based on those experiences as a woman, whether, and I think this works for any woman, particularly veteran women, milspouse women, but wisdom that you could share women navigating those career transitions while also trying to balance families and work life and all of those things.
So first I want to start off by saying that I no longer subscribe to the work-life balance mindset. I have since shifted to the work-life blend. Work-life balance is all about sacrificing one for the other. Work-life blend is making those cognizant choices to where you don't have to sacrifice. And it all starts with prioritizing and setting boundaries. I would also like to call out and share self-care is vital to everyone, but to women in these scenarios navigating all the things. You can't pour from an empty cup. And in order to be able to truly show up for yourself and for others, you have to invest in your mental, emotional, physical, and spiritual well-being.
I really like work-life blend. I've subscribed to that a long time ago, but I didn't have a word for it, so I'm going to steal yours.
I stole it from someone else.
We're sharing wisdom, right? Yeah, no, but I really love that, and I just want to harp on this point a little bit more, because I think specifically women really struggle with, we give. We're burnt out, but we continue to give, and then at some point we're like, oh, maybe I should do something for myself, but you're already so dwindled down. And it's that age-old saying that you like put your oxygen mask on first. And I think we're getting better, but there has been for me at least, there's always this shame cycle around like, oh, but if I'm not doing for others, like what are they gonna think? Like, am I doing enough? So I think that you said that really beautifully, and I'm gonna steal it. Talking about females and female veterans, female milspouses, what are some of the biggest challenges that you see in a corporate space like you do that those women have that they're facing in those leadership roles, and what would you recommend to overcome?
Yeah, so one of the biggest challenges that I've seen in my experience is translating skills. So taking what they've done in the military and correlating that to the civilian workplace. Something else that I've seen is promoting themselves. The military teaches you humility, right? Which is a great skill set to have. However, I've seen a lot of female veterans refrain from really showcasing their experience, skill set, and selling themselves.
Yes. All I can say is yes. And if you don't mind, I didn't plan on doing this, but I'm going to now. That you brought to light is that, like I mentioned earlier, the humble brag, right? Like, how do we talk about ourselves and not feel icky about it? I know Zach has referred to this several times as the military teaches you the we mentality, and often the corporate world works in the I mentality. And so how do you make that transition and feel good about it and still feel like you're working with your team, working for your team, but promoting yourself in the right ways to get you to the spaces that you need to be? And that's a really delicate balance. And I will say one of the other things that I see on that in my work, and I've seen it a lot with veterans and women in high-level positions in general, is imposter syndrome. We deal with it. I deal with it. I say it with gusto because I've lived with it a lot. And one of the things that I would say to kind of work through that, I see it a lot, obviously, from a body image perspective, other areas as well, from a space of your skill sets of how they translate. But overcoming imposter syndrome can be done. It's a little tricky. I think there's a couple things I would like to point out. If you guys will afford me the time, I'm sorry. But I think one is really seek support first. I know veterans, a lot of us really struggle to seek support. Seek support. Hire a coach. Get a mentor. Tell a friend. Not all friends are created equal. Don't tell all your friends. Tell the good friends. There are ones that will be there to lean into. Celebrate the wins. We are such high achievers. I know every single person in this room is a high achiever. I can tell it because you're sitting here. And so you go and you go and you go and you achieve, and you don't take the moment to really celebrate that. And so you haven't started developing the confidence in what that is, that authentic confidence that you're gaining from that win. Celebrate it. So now you know, as your imposter syndrome shows up, you're like, no, wait a minute, I've already achieved this. I got it. Let go of perfect. It doesn't exist. Focus on progress. Cultivate compassion. I think this is something we all really struggle with. But we hand out compassion. We hand out excuses, graces for everybody else. But the minute we mess up, it means we are a failure. It means we're not good at what we do. Figure out how to cultivate compassion for yourself. And then fact check. When those little voices get in your head, write it out. Fact check it. Is it a lie and you maybe just need to reframe it and focus on what you know your truth is? Or maybe you do need to go and learn something. Go take a course, take an extra certification that will get you to that next level. And then accept it. Don't judge it, accept it, and stay curious, and that's what we learn for it. So thank you for allowing me that very long-winded moment.
Absolutely. I do want to circle back because it was a two-part question. What are the challenges and how do they overcome?
Yes.
So I'd like to take a minute to answer that from two different lenses. One, as an organization, okay? Organizations need to be not just military friendly, but military ready. So don't just talk about it, be about it. Any organization can say, we're military friendly, we hire military, we support our veterans, so on and so forth. But to be military ready is to actually do something. That's it, right? Do it. do something. And it starts with investing in educating your employees, specifically hiring managers, recruitment partners, on military speak, on how to translate those skills. Understanding that not everyone in the military is a soldier. Just right? So that's from an organizational standpoint. From a female veteran standpoint, I want to talk about embracing pie. I am very passionate about pie, and anywhere I can weave it to a conversation, I'm going to do it. So I'm going to do it now. And I'm not talking about pie you eat, but I'm talking about performance, image, and exposure. Okay? So performance is, I have a lot of people that come to me and they're like, I'm a high performer, I'm overdriving, I'm exceeding my goals, but I'm not progressing in my career, I don't understand. Well, that's because you're focused on one piece of the total pie, and that's the performance piece. Performance makes up 10% of the total pie, okay? Image is 30% of the total pie. Image is your brand. Who are you? What do you stand for? What do you represent? What do people think of when you're not in the room when they hear your name, your brand? And then 60% of the pie is exposure. That's your network. That's why networking, coming to things like this, so critical, especially in the military community. That's who knows you, who needs to know you, who do you need to know, and building and investing in building that network.
I really liked I. I mean, I'm an image consultant.
I thought you would.
No, I think that's excellent, and it actually segues us into my last question before we open it up to Q&A. Is there are executives in this room for companies, there will probably be some listening to it later. How would you suggest, in your experience, executives in other corporate roles support people, females coming out of the military, male spouses, entering into the business world? You talked about being military ready. Do you have some ideas of what that might look like and how they can structure that?
Absolutely. So I would say mentorship and sponsorship, guiding, directing female veterans through the transition once they're onboarded, whatever that looks like. Sponsorship, being that advocate and that voice for that veteran when they're not in the room. Also championing a military-ready culture at your workplace. And then being involved in veteran organizations in your local community, like ATLVets. And, that all starts with rolling up your sleeves and getting in the trenches and learning and getting exposure to the military community.
I think that you said that very eloquently. One of the things that you mentioned is support, and I think that is one thing that really is fabulous about this community that has been building over the last 2 years is the support that we've seen from the community, the support that we can pour back into the community because of your support. So just keep in mind, this is kind of the beginning of the women's conversations, and the more you plug in and the more you show up for events, again, a lot of them are free, the more we know that it's something that's of value to you, and we can figure out how to make sure that we're providing the right resources and tools and trainings or whatever that looks like moving forward. So just as a little caveat, I would love to open the floor up for questions if you have any for Kim. About any of these topics. Like she said, she is a formidable, seasoned executive and also milspouse and knows a lot about that space as well. So the only thing I do ask is I will bring you the microphone because we are recording this and we need to hear your beautiful questions. So.
I just want to ask him about, you spoke about the different things in business when females get into business and do different things. How does that play with female veterans that have to also have kids and have to deal with that as far as kids and the PCS and moving your kids and going in and out of different schools, and what kind of support you think the companies would give on that level?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think it's important as female veterans, or veterans in general, really, that you're really researching and targeting those military-ready companies. Because I will tell you, the company I work for and many, many others that I'm familiar with has invested in a lot of resources for veterans, like what you mentioned with having the PCS, concierge services that assist with that. So I think coming to networking events, meeting other businesses, researching other businesses is where you start and target.
Any other questions? Yes. Girl.
Thank you. Hi there. So, thank you very much. I got here a little late, but I did watch online as I came. So I do have a question. So, when dealing with corporate America, you're speaking of executives, so I head our VRG at our company right now. And so one of the challenges, I would say, one, having folks recognize and even come out so I know who I'm trying to support those programs. Could you elaborate a little bit more on the support effort from a corporate standpoint and from an ERG standpoint, programming that could be put in place that I can put in place where to help increase those numbers of folks that are coming out? Just say, hey, even raise their hand and say, I need that support. I think we have some of the support. We're looking to bring more support into the company, but we'd like to at least know those numbers and get folks to be able to raise their hands. So just curious what that support looks like that you mentioned.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think it starts with establishing what your company wants to stand for in that space. Community involvement, like I mentioned earlier, rolling up your sleeves, getting in the trenches. It's very important that companies are aligned with veteran organizations, like Hiring Your Heroes, different organizations where you're investing that time into people and developing them and helping them through that transition. I also think you include career. What things are you pouring back into your employees in that space to help with career development, interviewing skills, resume writing skills, transferable skills, right? I think those are some great places to start, and hosting events that are not necessarily topic driven, but just to build that camaraderie, because that's a lot of, the military community is used to that camaraderie. And when you go into corporate America, a lot of companies, you miss that. And so you can create that type of culture through an ERG, through a BRG.
Thank you.
Yeah.
2 years of helping in this space, and I've learned more acronyms than I knew ever existed. No, I love it. Any other questions? Thoughts, concerns, cuss words? I really leave those for later.
I appreciate you saying what the support items are that companies can do. What are the biggest mistakes that companies do, and how can we avoid replicating those?
So I would say I've seen in my experience, specifically with female veterans, is lack of acceptance from civilian females females in the civilian workplace, because of the lack of, and that stems from really a lack of exposure and a lack of understanding and knowledge of the military community. So I think organizations have got to get better at the education piece. I know female veterans that have felt very isolated because they felt that they're not relatable because civilians feel that they're not relatable. So really connecting that dot, or the dots, about how, that inclusion.
Volunteering now, I love it.
Let me share my experience. I've been retired for 11 years. My transition from the military was extremely difficult because when I was trying to go into the job market, they either said I was underqualified because I have no corporate experience, or I was overqualified because I had a lot of supervisory experience in the military. How do you address that? And now when you have a gap, how do you address that to encourage me as a female veteran? Because you talk about support, we have the support because the corporations don't seem to understand how to place you. So how do you address me?
So here's how I address you. We're going to talk about the biggest piece of the pie, which is exposure, your network. It's building that network and getting a sponsor, getting someone who's going to be that advocate for you, somebody like me, like connecting with someone like me that's going to be able to help guide, direct, coach you on how to navigate those conversations and really sell yourself.
We got time for one more question if anybody has it. If not, I'll go into some thoughts. Oh, yes. Oh, we can do two more. It's good. You're good.
So I just want to understand from like a financial aspect, how can people who are currently enlisted in military prepare for transition out? And then, you know, maybe people who haven't thought about, you know, exiting the military, how can they financially ready themselves to, you know, be a civilian again so that the transition is easier?
Yeah, that's a great question. I'm not sure that I am the appropriate person to address that just based on my experience. So, you know, I would say, you know, maybe speaking to like a financial advisor would be one thought. I don't know if anybody else in the room maybe has some suggestions.
Well, I am an advisor, but I was just wondering, you know, I'm looking to talk to more people who are within this space, but I feel like I don't have an understanding of what they struggle with financially when they're going through that transition.
I see.
Yeah.
Well, and I think that's going to be different. There's not going to be a one size fits all approach to that, because you think about those in the military are coming from various different backgrounds. You're going to have some that are coming out of the military that were officers, some that were not. So I think it's going to be just really those fact-finding questions to understand where they are currently in their financial world to be able to best guide them for their transition.
Okay. And I asked her, like, what was your experience when you were, you know, transitioning back into civilian life?
The financial part or any? Well, I am very financially acute, so I pay attention to that. I made sure I didn't have any debt before I retired, meaning car note was paid, no credit card. So finances was not my issue at all. But with that said, I prepared for that.
Are you prepared? Okay.
I prepared to that. I budgeted everything to make sure all the bills were paid before I retired. And as well as because I was expecting to get into a job, I made sure I purchased the wardrobe while I was in active duty for that job.
Okay. So basically, a lot of times you all plan this years ahead of time before you.
I don't think
actually
everybody
transition.
does that, but I know I did.
Right.
And I would encourage you, if you're going to seek groups, share that. Because as my other friends, female friends, was getting ready to retire, I told them the same thing. Make sure you pay off all your debt, because you don't know. You don't know if you're going to get that job immediately. So if one less bill to worry about. So
I appreciate that.
I actually think that's brilliant. I only know from talking to a lot of people in this community that that isn't common. And so I think because one of our pillars with ATLVets is money, this discussion is really needed, and we need to figure out ways to really implement some of those things. That's awesome. So thank you for sharing. And if you didn't notice already, exposure piece, you're in the right room. You showed up for yourself. Keep showing up.
Yeah.
I don't really have a question. I'd like to kind of make a statement. As someone who has been in a position to hire people, one thing when you're getting out of the military, it's very important to understand how to translate what you do in the military into civilian words. I'll give you an example. We had a young man come in He was Air Force, he had been in Red Horse. He came into the interview and he didn't know I was Air Force civil engineer. And he started talking about what he did, and he kept going, and they kept asking him, well, what do you do? And I kept saying, you were a plumber. And he started talking about fuel systems and all of this, and I said, you were a plumber. Just say you were a plumber, because we don't hire a plumber, you know. But he didn't understand how to translate what he had done. We had another gentleman come in, you know, he should have said he was a construction superintendent, just not really understanding how to translate that. So, you know, there's a way, I think, for many enlisted people, if you could talk to an officer who was maybe ready to get out or had friends in private industry or new contractors, like you say, mentors, people that can tell you this is how you can talk about what you did. And then on the financial piece, there is a way to go online and figure out what your salary is and what the equivalent salary is for the zip code where you want to live. Find that number and accept it. I know that this young man and my nephew said, well, my salary is worth $100,000. No, sweetie, it's not. It's not. I figured it out for you. I showed you what it was based on where you were, what your zip code is, where you wanted to live, and you just don't want to. I mean, it was still $80,000, but you know, there was this idea that I should have so much more. So that would be my, you know, my thing. Got to figure out how to translate that into civilian talk.
Yeah.
And be able to talk about the leadership and the ability to adapt. That's one thing that military people have. You're going to adapt, you're going to figure it out. Talk about that a lot more.
I just want to make a comment really quick off of that. I love that you shared that, and I appreciate you. That's something that, with the nonprofit ATLVets, combining different leaders from the executives, from the executives from a civilian standpoint, and then you have your leadership from the veteran standpoint, that I'm going to brag, we do a really good job at, because you can take really awesome humans from all different walks of life that carry very similar leadership skills or different skills in general, and you can combine them and help them translate their language, their skills and abilities, whatever it is, into whatever they want to go to. And that's something that that is what we focus on. I know the term workforce development is such a big term, but it's everything from a spectrum of taking the 15, 20-year plus veteran. I mean, that's pretty high level, right? For those of us who understand that. And taking them and shifting them, whether they want to go into the corporate space in a C-level position, we know that that's a high position. They have those leadership skills. How do we translate them? That's something that we're really, really good at from all walks of life. But also, what if they want to build a business? The entrepreneurial side of things as well. We also hone in on that. So Kim specializes, she's given you guys all these gems, and you guys are so interactive, doing such a good job with interactivity of whether it's a comment or a question. She's obviously in a really good position with Comcast, and she's doing amazing things and has. So she gives us that value by sitting on board and as a civilian or mil spouse, right? She didn't serve directly, but she served. Like, let's be real. And then you have Casey, who is a true civilian, right? Who's a huge veteran supporter. She comes from the entrepreneurial side. So there's a beauty in everything that we're doing. So I want you guys to take that away as well, as everything that we're doing is to make a huge impact with every single person in this room, wherever you want to go. Or if you know somebody that needs a route in the transitional language or whatever that looks like, that's what we're here to do and help with. We're not a recruiting thing, but we'll partner with one to help that, if that makes sense. Sorry. Maria.
Hey, so ATLVets is awesome. So I just wanted to make a comment. So because I know all sorts of resources, that's what I'm good at. So Hire Heroes USA is a really, really, really excellent resource for taking you and doing all that translation. They've been doing it for like decades. Like they are really good at it. And also for mentorship, there's a really strong mentorship program out there called ACP, American Corporate Partnerships. And what they do is they take you and they have all these executives or even non-executives, and you put in what you're looking for and they will pair you with a mentor. And it's a program, like it's a very formal program, and it's a very highly established program. So those are just two resources. Use all the resources. I mean, use all of them. You don't even have to just pick one, you know. Go to ATLVets and go to American Corporate Partnership and go to like Hire Heroes USA and go to, there's tons. So there you go.
So question on that. So, I'm sorry. And a follow-up with that. Would those resources you just named also be good resources? So I'm looking for the other side. I'm looking for resources to bring in to actually train our hiring recruiters and managers how to read a military person's resume. Would those resources also be someone that could come in to help train those recruiters that are looking at those information?
I would probably talk to Hire Heroes USA, because they train me for that.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, I so appreciate this interactive discussion. Just for the sake of time and giving you guys out at a reasonable hour, a few wrap-up things. This is an intimate crowd tonight. The beauty of that is these questions that you might still have lingering or these resources that you're willing to share. Go connect with that person, talk to them. We've got some time here still. There's still some snacks. That's rare. That's how you know women were in the room. There are still snacks already. No, but seriously, grab some snacks, get a refill quick, and have some of those conversations. If you still have lingering thoughts, questions, want resources or answers, that's what we're here for. So definitely stay tuned. Taylor,
I don't know why it's
because we're good at tech.
This is not what you want to ask me advice on.
Yes, she is going to put a QR code that really talks about some upcoming events. This coming weekend with pickleball tournament. I've heard Kim's a pretty big opponent in pickleball, so I think that would be a great way if you guys are looking for a way to have movement, have some fun, get involved, get exposure, build network. Great fun way to do that. We have the Tampa Speaker Series coming up October 22nd, if you happen to be in Tampa. Otherwise, it's always online as well. That's similar to this, different conversations, different space. The Personal Executive Development Retreat, that's something I kind of shamelessly plugged earlier. I had the privilege of getting to do that last week. One of our board members, Tommy Breedlove, hosts this retreat with his team. It's very much on the mindset space. They are doing one that's kind of intrinsically focused on veterans. Guys, we have some really veterans ready and wanting to do this, but they're having some financial snags. So if any of you have companies or stuff that would like to sponsor a veteran in that space, this would be a great opportunity to do it. If you want to go through it for yourself, that's always an option, but absolutely always looking for ways that you might be able to sponsor a veteran that could use some of those resources and might not be able to do themselves. That would be a question for Zach, so just reach out to one of us if you don't know how to get a hold of him directly. And then another big thing to talk about is Advancing the Line. It's our first annual soiree. This is not going to be a stuffy gala. This is going to be fun. It's not something you have to get super dressed up for unless you want to. Yeah, but think dueling pianos. It's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to have snack, like bar, food, all the things. Definitely something. Of course, we have sponsorship opportunities available for that. Come out, bring a friend, bring a loved one, have fun with us, buy a ticket, whatever that looks like for you. We would love to see you there. And auction items. If you can't make it, anything like that, if you have an auction item you'd like to donate for that, we are graciously accepting those as well. And last and not least, the Vetlanta Summit. It's another one of our great partners. Maria's on the board for Vetlanta. Lloyd is often at these events. He is the founder, and I don't know his exact title, CEO, is that his title? Co-founder of, Vetlanta. So we operate with them a lot, so definitely check out their Q4 Summit coming up. And finally, the last announcement, before you get to go have those conversations and snacks, This is our hero tree, okay? So this is something that we are doing to really focus on veteran suicide, 22 a day. That's the average. So we are asking people to commit $22 a month in support of that. We're gonna give you a really cool, unique dog tag up on the tree that's specialized for that. It's a great way for you, in a small way, to contribute in a big way. If that interests you, easy way to do that is QR code there. And I think we have the QR code down there as well, if you missed this one. But thank you again. Don't forget your parking validation, or we're donating to someone who doesn't need it. It doesn't go to us. No, but seriously, guys, thank you so much. I know it's late. I know it's been a long day. So genuinely appreciate all of your time, your support. And thank you for showing up for yourself.
Thank you.